Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey everybody, welcome into Retirement Elevated. Thanks for checking out our podcast here with Sean Lee, managing partner at Elevated Retirement Group, serving you in the Salt Lake City area, also with an office in Sandy, and I think in St. George as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. But if you got some questions or concerns, you need a little bit of help, make sure you check them out online at elevatemyretirement.com. That's elevatemyretirement.com, or just give them a call at 855-50-RETIRE. That's 855-50-RETIRE. And as always, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Give us a like, give us a listen, give us a share. And you can do that at retirementelevatedpodcast.com. All right, buddy, how you doing this week?
I'm here, man. Dog days of summer.
That's right. Hot. All across the country.
It is hot.
I think we've shared with our listeners before, but I'm in North Carolina a lot of times when we do these podcasts, so we don't always have to be in the same place, which is pretty cool. The technology of the internet allows for these things all over the country, and I talk to guys all over the nation about various different things when it comes to investing, finance, and retirement, and we are rocking the same temperatures pretty much across the country. It's just hot.
Oh, man. So I think it's 100 degrees again today.
Yeah, I think it was 98 here. Yeah, so you guys actually got us beat. And
we just don't have the humidity, though.
That's true. We got the humidity that just makes it really rough. Not as bad as like, Louisiana or Florida, but it's pretty darn bad in North Carolina. So you can swim to work, if you will. And I don't mean like, I mean in the air. It's so thick. But anyway, speaking of North Carolina, so you and I were chatting briefly before we started about lighthouses and just how cool they are, and just kind of the general beauty of a lot of the lighthouses. And of course, we've got a ton, obviously, here in our neck of the woods. So I guess just kind of chatting for a minute. It got me thinking, like, let's talk about lighthouses. Like, when you think about a lighthouse, like I think of like the traditional paint job, right? Where you have the spiral or the circles, right? You have the layers. And so, I don't know, can we kind of think about that and make a financial lesson or something from this?
Let's try. I think we can.
Okay.
We'll
roll with it. Take off.
All right, let's talk about Lighthouse. I actually think I was listening to another podcast, and this gentleman was talking about being a lighthouse, being a beacon of strength,
True,
or a beacon of safety for ships and boats, and when it's dark outside, that's really the guide to help ships or boats know where land is. Right, they're that navigational aid to let maritime pilots know where those inland waterways and they outline the dangerous coastline. So as beautiful as lighthouses are, they're there to serve a function, and they're really there to be a beacon of safety for those boats. So, I mean, if we think about, how does a lighthouse compare to financial planning or your retirement income plan? Think about it. Your retirement income plan really should be a beacon of safety for your income.
Good
it
point.
should be there to help you navigate through those dangerous or unseen obstacles when it comes to retirement. Those obstacles could be a number of things, right? They could be inflation,
right.
Unnecessary market risk when we look at, hey, I thought I was invested this way, but my portfolio did this or that.
Kind of like the rocks. Maybe something's the rocks in the water below. Maybe something's the high waves kind of deal, right?
Yeah, those unforeseen obstacles.
Right.
The high fees or unnecessary fees could be another one. And there are a lot of obstacles and concerns that come to mind when we think about retirement income planning. One of those, we'll call it rocks under the water, are paying unnecessary taxes. When we start to look at real planning and not just throwing money into an investment or another, tax planning could be one of those biggest obstacles that if you have a clearly defined plan, you can, in some instances, eliminate that risk, or you can navigate away from unnecessary taxation if you've got that proper beacon of safety, which is your clearly defined income plan.
Right. Okay. So, you got the lighthouse, so then you got ships coming in, right? So here in North Carolina, we've got, we're called the graveyard of the Atlantic or whatever, because we've got so many ships that have gone down all around the Outer Banks and, all those areas down there. And so if you're thinking about that, right, you're trying to bring these ships in safely, maybe you could kind of look at that the same way as maybe that's your retirement, right? And, the ships, especially as you're getting older, you kind of get those older ships. You've got maybe those classic, what were those things called? Those Spanish galleons, that kind of thing, right? So you want to kind of help get that into the port, as it were.
Right. And if you look at we'll differentiate the ship from the lighthouse a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
The lighthouse is there to help ships be safe.
Right.
They're far too often we see when it comes to planning, what people think they've built a plan, but really they've purchased a shiny ship the fastest boat with the newest bells and whistles from whatever company they had met with last. But really, those are just the products. The ship isn't the strong, lasting piece that's important, because we know that ships get old, they get dingy, they tend to break down, but they come and go. The lighthouse, the plan, that's what's important. The lighthouse is what keeps the ship safe. It shouldn't be the other way around. The ships shouldn't tell the lighthouse where to go. The lighthouse should tell the ships where to go. And in retirement planning, the lighthouse is your plan, and the ships are your tools to get you where you want to go.
Okay, so some good analogies here if you're thinking about the lighthouses. Again, you're listening to Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee. He's the managing partner at Elevated Retirement Group, and we're just kind of having this conversation, just kind of off the cuff here a little bit today about, just thinking about our retirement plans, thinking about how we can kind of look at something as simple as a lighthouse and how it might affect the way we're viewing our retirement plans. I imagine, I don't know, Sean, we should do something crazy, like, our listeners, unless you're driving, you should but you should close your eyes and kind of think about, if you were, a boat on the water, and you kind of need the lighthouse, because they do the bell and the light. It's not just the light.
Exactly. And this will be fun. Let's do that. Let's close our eyes. Let's envision that we're a boat on the water. It's completely black outside, pitch black. And you're the captain on the ship, and you can't see anything. And now the water's starting to get rougher and rougher and rougher. And as the water starts to get rougher, you can feel water splashing over the sides of the boat, and it spills onto the deck, and you can't see anything. Remember, it's pitch black. You can smell the salt in the air, and the climate is starting to cool down, and you can feel a storm coming. At this point, you're starting to get a little concerned. You can't see anything, and you aren't sure if your boat is close to your destination, and suddenly you hit a reef. In a shallow section close to land, and it pokes a hole in your boat. And now your boat's taking on water.
This is a good story.
You keep moving forward, but your boat's slowly sinking, right? You start to become a little concerned. There's an unknown feeling in your guts. You just don't know where you're headed. There's not a clear path, because everything's still pitch black. And you hit another shallow area, and it puts another hole. And slowly but surely, your boat is sinking, starting to take on more and more water. You're still not at your destination yet, but you're starting to become more and more concerned. Think about how that pertains to not having a retirement income plan. By not having a clearly defined plan, you're on the ocean or in a bay, and it's completely pitch black, and you can't see where you're going, but off in the distance, you see a lighthouse.
And that's what you need, right? You got to have that. You got to have that light. You got to have that beacon off in the distance to kind of help bring you in. I think that's pretty cool. It's a really good story. I was getting all into it, and
yeah, I think it's just a great metaphor for what planning should look like, right? We've got this lighthouse or this beacon of safety that has long been around throughout history of our country. We've
forever.
Always had lighthouses, and you bring that into planning. And if you start to think about it, it's not the shiny boats. It's that beacon of safety, that lighthouse, or creating the clearly defined plan that's going to allow you to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Well, and because for a lot of people, truly, we do kind of feel like we're in the dark when it comes to, the retirement planning process, right? A lot of us, maybe we have a little working knowledge. We've heard, especially nowadays, we've heard a lot of terms. We hear a lot of little things. But when it comes down to putting it into practice, a lot of us get very scared, get very kind of timid about it, or just unsure of how to start. So it could easily feel like you're, a boat on the dark water, and you're just not exactly sure where to go.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, I don't even know where I want to go with this podcast now, but that was groovy. So I think we'll call that a show, because and we spent about 10 minutes here talking about this. I think folks get the idea. We've used some sound here a little bit to kind of add to the imagery. So if you are worried about your own ship, getting it safely into port, and I did say ship, make sure that you are reaching out and having a conversation with a qualified professional. Talk with the team at Elevated Retirement Group. Talk to Sean. Give him a call and say, hey, not only was that Lighthouse story cool, but I'm kind of worried about my own ship, and I want to have a conversation. 855-50-RETIRE is the number to reach out to him. 855-50-RETIRE. Again, check us out online at retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That is retirementelevatedpodcast.com. retirementaboutretirement.com. Give us a like, give us a listen, give us a subscribe, share it with friends and family, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or iTunes or Google Play or whatever the case is. We would certainly appreciate it. And my friend, good story, good show. I look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. That was Sean Lee, folks, and we'll catch you next time here on Retirement Elevated.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, and SEC registered